we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along. Well, we flew through Cincinnati and we all got really happy. Grabbed a bowl of that Skyline chili along the way. Then we rode on into Canton, scared the hell out of Marilyn Manson, and the party started happening. Hey, hey, hey. And in the middle of a Charleston night, we ran into Jessica White and a little moonshine.
Welcome into Indiana Sports Beat. Had a little problems with the microphone getting on. Hope your day's off to a better start than ours is. Welcome in to this 15th day of January. Thanks a lot for joining us, taking us along wherever you're going. Whatever you may be doing, we appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat along. Jim Coyle sitting in with you as always. Justin Kalen high top the crew chief's box today.
That's right.
As always. And we greatly appreciate Justin and the job he does. Don't tell him enough. Thank you, sir, for doing the great job that you do.
Oh, yeah.
Always shows up. That's important. Very important.
If I can do nothing else, I could show up.
You definitely do that every day. A lot to get to on the program today. Chronic Hoosier will be with us in the next hour. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. Plenty to talk about last night in Indiana's game up in Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Other games as well. But let's get to the headlines first with Justin.
All right, here are your headlines for this Tuesday, January 15th, 2019. For the 26th time, Don Fisher has won the Indiana Sportscaster of the Year. The new AP top poll has the same top five: Duke, Michigan, Tennessee, Virginia, and Gonzaga. Indiana drops down to 25. Indiana women's basketball also stays in the top 25 at number 25. Indiana's Frankie Moore drafted in the third round of the MLS Super Draft. And Indiana drops to Nebraska last night, 66-51. Those are your headlines for this January 15th, 2019.
To go along with the Don Fisher being named Sportscaster of the Year, our good friend and the late Terry Hutchins is the Writer of the Year.
Should have threw that on there. What a jerk.
That's all right. Very much deserved. Not his first time either. Also, last night before the IU game, there was an informal gathering in the press room, telling some Terry stories. Some had to be told in the whisper. But all were classic and good. He is, and always will be, causing problems from wherever he is. But we certainly miss Terry, and congratulations to both Don and Terry, and I'm sure that's especially rewarding to Don to get that at the same year that Terry gets it. But and also last night during the Terry Hutchins press room memorial, came out that there's a scholarship that's being worked on in his name and his honor that will be established.
Very cool.
Very much so. Looking forward to that. Other news, Jerome Hunter is redshirting for Indiana. Not a big surprise. A little surprised on how it was announced.
Me too.
I see a tweet from someone who says, hey, I'm listening to Jerome Hunter on radio, and he said he's redshirting. I'm like, really? Well, that usually comes out in a press release. So I'm not sure if he let that one slip a little soon. He probably wasn't. They probably didn't tell him, but he probably wasn't supposed to talk about it.
I don't know. He said it pretty nonchalantly.
Well, maybe they didn't. I don't know.
Don was kind of pressing him, though. Like, well, what are you doing to try to get back? And then he was like, well, I'm actually redshirting.
So.
Yeah, I heard that, too, on the pregame show, and I was like, what? All right.
Race Thompson, of course, has been out as well, but he can't redshirt. He already has a redshirt last year. He'll have to seek a medical hardship waiver.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can get that if he's not able to get back this year, which I'm not sure that he's going to.
Well, even if he does get back and he plays, I think it's less than 10 games, you could still likely get that medical hardship.
Well, we'll certainly hope that turns out for him. A lot of action going on in the IHSA, Indiana High School Athletic Association. The new enrollment, every 2 years they check the enrollments on schools, see if you're in the right class. Well, there's going to be some changes. Most of it in the big boys around the Indianapolis area. They're Warren Central and Ben Davis, who has been in the same sectional, same 4-team sectional, which, well, there's 2 of your best teams every year. They're going to be split up finally because of this. Columbus East is getting booted up to 6A because of the success factor.
This for football?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jeffersonville, I think, is going down to 5A because Columbus East is going to 6A. Zionsville, they're getting moved to 6A in football. I didn't see anything, basketball-wise, I didn't really see anything of substance. Changes that mattered. It'll be interesting to see if it's that most of the effect has been in 6A football. So now you've got the bigger teams: Fishers, Hamilton, Southeastern Lawrence, Central Lawrence North in a sectional. Indianapolis Tech got bumped. Warren Central, Perry Meridian, Southport in a sectional.
Did they ever move Columbus East out of the Hoosier Hills Conference?
Why would you move them out of the conference? It's a conference.
I know. But, I mean, you got now a 6A team playing with 4A schools.
That is true.
Doesn't seem right.
No, it's a very imbalanced league, I'll tell you that, because there's one of the leagues in Indianapolis that a team that just got moved up to 6A. They were in this conference. Now every team in that conference is 6A. All 8. 8 6A schools in one conference. Yeah, the Hoosier Hills Conference in southern Indiana, that's pretty unbalanced. You got Floyd Central, New Albany, Jeffersonville, Bedford, North Lawrence, Columbus East. Those are the 5 linchpins. Seymour, Jennings County, Madison. You know, Madison's kind of a small school. Jennings County's kind of a small school, and they got to go up against Columbus East and knock heads with those guys.
Doesn't seem fair.
Doesn't matter to anybody. Columbus East hadn't been beaten since Moses was here. Don't know if that's going to abate anytime soon. Now, New Palestine is going to be in 4A. I think they were in 5. So they're a very, very successful program, but they got to go down. Cathedral, Ron Colley, they've been playing in 5A because of the tournament success factor. They get to go back to 4A. Now, that's huge for teams like that. Indianapolis Cathedral and Ron Colley getting to move from 5A to 4A. Ooh, that'll help you in a bunch.
Yeah. Well, especially if you had success at the 4A level already earlier in the program.
Well, obviously they did. That's why they get moved.
Right.
A lot of it. And a lot of it. How was your evening? Did you enjoy the game?
That's a joke.
The fans in Bloomington were not happy last night, I can tell you that. There were the Boo Birds were out. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Let us know what's your thoughts, comments, questions. I've got some questions of Archie for the first time ever. 2 years in, team doing the same thing this year as last year in regards to making the same mistakes deep into the season. Last night's effort, if you want to call it an effort, that was weak.
Very.
The funny thing is, and I said this in the postgame video wrap-up with Mike Schumann. Mike will be along today. Chronic Hoosiers here today as well. But we're sitting there behind the we're across the Nebraska bench on the Nebraska end where they're warming up and just sitting on the bleacher seats talking. He was walking by when I was. We sat down and started talking. Michael Lewis is right in front of us. Got to talk to Michael. I'm so angry before I get moving with this story. You did not remind me we were playing Nebraska. I would have had Michael Lewis on.
You know, I was thinking about that during the game, too.
Yeah, I thought about it as soon as I get
That's
to
what happens
Bloomington
when
and I stop by the Graduate Hotel to talk to somebody about something, and I see the Nebraska people. Not that I didn't know that we were playing Nebraska. Indiana was playing Nebraska, but it just didn't dawn on me. And all of a sudden, when I saw, I'm like, we're playing IU's playing Nebraska. I go, man, where Michael Lewis?
You know, and
Friend
I
of
was
the show, good former Hoosier, and I'm just disappointed in myself that because they don't play a second time.
Well, I had noticed as well, and then I was like, well, I guess that's what happens when you coach for Nebraska. People kind of forget about you.
Yeah, I'll have him on anyway. I'll have an excuse.
Yeah.
Even though we're not playing, who cares? Yeah, he's a former Hoosier. Who cares? But Todd Leary was at the game. Indiana had a lot of recruits there, as a matter of fact, or supposedly. I only know I saw Christian Lander, talk to him for just a second, the 5-star recruit out of Evansville Wrights. He was there with Cardell McFarland, trainer. Then his dad, Keith, was sick. Keith, I hope you're feeling better. Also a friend of the show. But not a good night to have a 5-star recruit in the house.
No.
Then again, my pitch immediately would be, did you see that? That's why we need you here.
You could fix this.
That's why we need you here. And that's true. They do need that player and others like him. Because to me, last night was about effort and the lack thereof.
Yeah.
This getting off to a slow start thing, I don't know what that means. What does that mean, getting off to a slow start? Does that just mean you suck at the beginning of every game? Because that's what was the case last night. They just sucked. They couldn't hit a shot. Yeah. They weren't paying attention. They were sloppy with the ball. They were lost on defense, getting lost in the switches. How many easy open bunnies did Nebraska get because of a failed defensive assignment on a switch?
A lot.
I think they focused too many switches out front with the big guys. Why? Why are you worried about that out there? It's different.
Well, not only was it the easy shots for Nebraska, but they were getting a heck of a lot of lucky shots to drop. I mean, it seemed like everything they were throwing up was going in. And Indiana was the opposite. They couldn't get anything to drop.
Indiana couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat.
Exactly.
It was their shooting percentage was in the teens for a while. They got it up to 37%. That's what they finished with. What was that, 13, 14% below their average?
Yep. 16.
They scored 51 points in the game. They've scored that and a half. Turnovers back up, 13 turnovers again.
You had Romeo get stripped with a guy laying on the ground.
They got out-rebounded again. Out-rebounded on the offensive glass again, which gives 12 second-chance points to Nebraska. 12.
Not good.
No. 7 assists on the night, the whole night for Indiana. Not a good performance. Well, like I said, we've got a lot on the show today. Chronic Hoosier's going to be along in the next hour. Mike Schumann will be here. Got plenty to talk about. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Indiana Sports Beat. We're back after this. This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat. Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat on this 14th day of January. Hope you are week's off to a great start. Got our good friend John Bowl joining us now. Johnny, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Got my sports fix in over the weekend. Watched way too much sports on my butt, so I'm good.
Yeah, A lot of, well, not a lot of NFL, but enough. The good games, at least the NFL. The Colts, one of the hottest teams going, and they got drilled by the Chiefs.
Embarrassing. Just,
terrible.
I was right last weekend, 3 of the 4 games. I was all over the road teams. I didn't have a really good feel this weekend, but I knew that statistically 80-some%, like right around 80% of in the NFL on that second weekend of the home teams that got a bye win. So I knew that going in, and we really got to see that situation flex its muscle, right? I think all 8 of the home teams won, right?
Yeah. Oh, this past weekend, yeah, it was all
yeah,
chalk.
Or all 4. All 4.
All 4 chalk.
Teams, of the 8, yeah, won.
Yeah, and next week, that's going to be even tighter now. You got the Patriots going to visit the Chiefs, and then the Rams down in having a bowl of gumbo and taking on the Saints down in New Orleans.
Yeah, I thought that I didn't think that Drew Brees would have any trouble with Philly, but they did. If it weren't for Alshon Jeffrey letting the ball go through, Philly probably would have won that game by a point. They were driving. So I don't think that the Saints looked all that good. I thought the Rams looked good, so that might be closer than I thought it would be. And then I think that the Patriots looked like a machine. I watched that whole game, even though it was a blowout. And Patriots, man, I hate watching the Patriots. They run the same plays for like the last 15 years, don't they?
Yeah, because they all work.
The same plays. Plug in whatever little white guy running across the middle and a clear out, 10 yards down the field. Same flares out of the backfield. Same handoff every once in a while.
Same success.
Same quarterback. I thought Belichick was brilliant in that game. Winning the toss and not deferring to the second half, but taking the ball, knowing that game he didn't want to get down early to give him any confidence. So, take the ball and go down and score and set the pace. And I thought that was pretty wise.
Yeah, and they certainly did. I mean, they score on their first 4 possessions, at least?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he didn't even see that coming. First time they've ever done that in the playoffs. But, he did the right thing and setting the pace and getting out ahead, and the rest is history, so that they would never even have a chance. And then, so I think that game sets up great, because Kansas City looked like a machine too. Yeah. And is there anything better than watching a snow game, though? It's fantastic.
Always fun. It always ends up getting somebody. And then last Friday night, Indiana was up at Maryland on the road, lost there by 3, in which they did everything right except rebound the ball. They only had 7 turnovers in that game. They shot 40% from behind the arc. They were perfect at the free throw line, shot 49% overall for the game, and lost by 3 in a game that they were up 14 in the first half.
Yeah, I watched the second half of that, and then I watched the Badgers Purdue game in overtime. And it just hit me, man, like Maryland's good. All these teams in the Big Ten are good. There's no week off. No. And for anybody you play, all these games are good. You can even bring your best effort. I thought even Wisconsin played fairly well considering what they've got, and that wasn't good enough. I will say my big observation that I've had so far in college basketball is I don't think that somebody brought up on Twitter, gave me a candidate for me to rank number 3, but the 2 best players in college basketball, without question to me, number 1 is Marcus Howard for Marquette, and number 2 is that Edwards guy for Purdue.
I knew you were going to say that. You're right. Those are individually, those 2 guys are really standing out on their teams, but I'm wondering their teams are going to, when those guys are held in check, they lose. Marcus Howard, they won a couple big games here recently. He went off, but a game in between, he was held to 8 points, and they get destroyed by 20.
Yeah, but that's really rare. That guy, that's just because he was a little bit off on his shot. Marcus Howard is like Kemba Walker, man.
He's awesome.
He can create a shot every time. Like if he doesn't even want to pass the ball for the entire game, he can get off a good shot every single time down the floor. Same thing with Edwards. And Edwards had 30-some against Wisconsin, and he missed a ton of shots that went in and out. He was just on target, whole game. But the main thing I'm talking about is not so much just necessarily making your shots all the time, but getting good shots. Al McGuire used to always say his formula, both coaching and then as a broadcaster, for winning the national championship was you had to have, among other things, you had to have a go-to guy. A guy that there's 2 seconds left on the clock, you got an inbounds play you're going to go to who's going to get you a good shot. And that Purdue and Marquette have that guy. They're going to get a good shot off.
That's no doubt about that. I think that Romeo's becoming that guy for Indiana. May not be a three-point shot he's going to get off, but he's going to get to the rim, and you can't stop him.
Yeah, no, he is. But he's not on the level of Edwards or Marcus Howard yet. And then the suggestion on Twitter that I thought was good was this guy for Murray State.
Yes.
Ja. Yeah. He can get a shot off anytime, too. He's just a little guy.
Or he can jump over you. Did you see the highlight? He dunked on the baseline against somebody earlier?
Yeah.
And just jumps over the dude.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable.
Those guys really stand out to me. I was mesmerized by Edwards in the game against Wisconsin. I've seen him before, and just pretty phenomenal.
Are you disappointed in Wisconsin a little bit? They seem like they're kind of underperforming of what I thought they were going to do this year.
Listen, man, they're just not that good. I mean, they're just not that good. They got. I was thinking today, this weekend, it is always about Ethan Happ, and then this Dimitri Trice, one of the leaders in three-point field goal percentage. Still, he's got like 47% on the season. He was at 60 at one point. He makes them once in a while. Brad Davison's okay, and then they got nothing. So it all revolves around Happ. In every game, Happ delivers, 27 and 14 rebounds. But Happ still shooting under 50% from the free throw line. Years later, same thing he was doing his freshman year. You can't win anything when you got a big guy who can't even hit half his free throws. He's going to get fouled down the stretch.
No, that's a little surprising from him too. He's a good player.
Yeah, no. Hey, listen, look for Wisconsin to go into the tank here because they're going to lose Happ this year. And I watched their games, wondering who's going to be the scorer next year. They got nobody. Like, they're going to score 30 points a game next year. The coach is going to get fired. They're going to have to rebuild. So it's going to be woeful after this year. After Wisconsin probably limps into the tournament, maybe. So no, they're overrated. Like a lot of these teams, like IU and Purdue, they just keep reloading with really good players. I don't see that with Wisconsin.
Yeah, Indiana is still trying to land Keon Brooks, a 5-star out of Indiana, waiting for him to make a decision. Archie Miller and Calipari were both in home visiting him this weekend. So Indiana's already got a commitment from Trace Jackson Davis, a 5-star. Now they're waiting on Keon Brooks, who I think is going to end up going to Indiana for certain.
Yeah, that'd be great. I keep looking at the schedules here for any kind of a reprieve, and there's just nothing. There's nothing ahead for IU, for Wisconsin, for Purdue, whatever your team is, man. It's just
not in the Big Ten.
A war.
Yeah, not in the Big. Tonight, Indiana welcomes in Nebraska. That's as good as it gets as far as a break. That is not much of a break.
Right.
Nebraska's
no.
I looked in the AP Top 25 last week when right after a couple of the lower Big Ten teams had gotten beaten and they just knocked them out. There were 6 Big Ten teams in a row in the others receiving votes. 6 in a row.
Yeah, no, it's a war. It's as a matter of fact, it's kind of I could make an argument looking ahead to the big picture. This is going to be one of those years in the NCAA tournament when like 40 of the 60-some teams can go on a 4-game run and make it to the NCAA tournament, make it to the Final Four. Even like a Louisville, dude. Did you see them this weekend?
Yeah.
They looked. I thought North Carolina was on the brink of unbeatable. That's how great they have looked.
Biggest loss in Roy Williams' career at North Carolina.
Yeah, and it was inexplainable. They just Louisville played them off their heels, and but then again, Louisville could throw in a clunker like that against Pitt. But just there's so many teams out there. The Purdue, Indiana, these teams we're talking about, Wisconsin, some of the mid-range teams in the Big Ten, Michigan State, Louisville, some teams in the SEC. I personally have only seen 2 teams that seem to be on a tier above, and that would be Michigan and Tennessee, with the possible exception of Duke. But again, they almost lost to Florida State. So I think it's going to be a wide open, anybody can get on a 4-game tournament.
Absolutely, but I think somebody's going to have to knock Duke off because when they're rolling, when Zion Williamson he didn't get to play the second half of that game against Florida State, in which they almost lost. He got poked in the eye, and obviously a huge difference with not having him in there. But somebody's going to have to beat them this year in this tournament, which that can happen. I mean, Virginia got beat as a number 1 seed last year for the first time ever by a 16, and of all the number 1 seeds last year, that was not the one I thought could lose to a 16 seed.
No, Virginia's got the history of gagging in the tournament, and you watch now this year. Everybody's going to get off Virginia when they get their bracket, and I think Virginia should have actually added into that list because Virginia is sound. This is probably the year that when everybody gets off them on their bracket, that they go on a nice run, Final Four, and maybe beyond. But other than that, it is so wide open. Anybody can do anything. Villanova's not bad. I don't know. It's going to be tough to pick, but that's what makes it fun,
Absolutely. And then tonight, Indiana's at home against Nebraska. Like I said, they welcome them in. Nebraska's a team that lost once at home last year to Kansas. Of course, they're on the road at Indiana. But every one of the Indiana's Big Ten games have been close. Win, lose, they've been close either way. And I think that's something that might continue tonight. But I know Archie Miller he's pissed off. He was pissed off after the Michigan loss. You could see in the post-game press conference. He's mad that now he got out. The team got to a 14-point lead in the first half, but they ended up choking that away and giving that up. He's not happy with what's going on with his team right now, and I think you may see some different guys playing tonight against Nebraska.
What's funny is, what is the prevailing mindset, the word you're hearing on whether or not Romeo is going to be one and done? Is he going to be one and done?
Absolutely, positively, without question. He is, numbers 5 or 6 on every mock draft board around. Nobody's going to pass that up.
Yeah, so what I think is interesting is how a lot of teams struggle to rebuild in college basketball after they've got some superstars that go. But you don't see that at all from Beeline in Michigan. I mean, they're loaded double barrel.
He doesn't recruit superstars. That's the thing. He doesn't load his team with 5 stars, which in essence is easier to replace because he's replacing successful role players who are good. Don't think that they're not good players, but he's not going out and getting this 3 5-star class and all this stuff. But he's winning. He went to the national championship game last year, and he looks like he's on his way back.
Yeah, he's got the formula down. I have nothing but great things to say about him. He's doing the right thing up there.
Absolutely. Anything going on in the world of John Bull?
Yes, I have a special report airing. I believe it's going to go Tuesday night on this battle over closing a business, a first-of-its-kind punishment handed down by the city codes and regs here in Louisville with this BP gas station on Broadway, where they have ruled multiple times that they have violated the nuisance ordinance, and they have an order to shut down way back in June. Wow. But 7 months later, the place is still open. And so I'm doing a real in-depth piece on what's been going on there since, with a little undercover video. I've been watching what's been going on there. And then we just get to the core of the argument of basically the gas station attorney's argument is, is it really a business's responsibility when criminals come on the lot outside and do things? Or is it the police responsibility? The city has held that it's the business owner's responsibility. They're challenging it in court right now, saying it's the police department's responsibility. You can't put that on us. So we'll have much more on that, 7 o'clock on Tuesday night on Wave 3 News.
Look forward to seeing that, John. I appreciate you, brother, every week. Thank you, sir. I hope you had a great weekend.
Yep, excellent weekend, and you guys have a great week. Enjoy football one more Sunday before Super Bowl, and then it is all college basketball.
That's right. Can't wait. John Bull, thank you, sir. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. Yep, bye.
Johnny Bull joins us each week. Appreciative of him, and make sure you check out his broadcast coming up on Wave 3 News if you can catch that. That's tonight. So, but coming up on the program today, we've yet to have Cronny Kouser will be along. That's in the next hour, of course, and Mike Schumann as well. We've got a lot to talk about. This Indiana loss last night. Jerome Hunter redshirting. A lot to get to. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyles right back after this.
I don't understand.
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat. This hour of Indiana Sports Beat is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. With hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burger, beer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beats. Jim Coyle sitting in with you. Hope you're having a great start to your day. Not a great start for Indiana last night. No pun intended.
Not a great finish either.
No, not great much of anything. A very listless effort that resulted in a thorough beating. It was kind of funny. Yesterday, early during the day, my weird schedule, but I was watching Waterboy. And if you remember, Captain Insano, his wrestling hero,
would always open up a can of whoop ass. Well, Nebraska opened up a can of whoop ass on Indiana last night. I think, and they brought the whole case. I'm telling you, man, it was just a beatdown of, I won't say epic proportions because the margin wasn't gigantic, but the fact that they were at home and losing like that to a what I would consider an even team, that's a beatdown. Yeah. That's a beatdown.
Certainly seems like a beatdown, how bad it felt.
Well, in the beginning, when they got up by 18 points in the first half, I think that's at the 9:06 mark. You know what Indiana's biggest lead was?
None.
Exactly. Never led in the contest. Although, ironically, both teams had scoring runs of 11 points.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana gave themselves a shot to get back in the game. They just couldn't keep it up.
Oh, dude, they were there. Devontae Green hits a three that got him within three. I think that was at somewhere around the 11-minute mark, 11:37. I can actually pull that up. But
then the wheels fall off.
Oh, man. They fell off. Well, Nebraska just stayed calm and did what they do. They scored, and then they hit back-to-back triples. Big old fat, juicy 8-point bulge right there real fast. Pushed the lead back out to 11.
Indiana even had things in their favor. They got Roby in foul trouble, which is a big deal when you're playing Nebraska, but for whatever reason, couldn't take advantage. It was real frustrating last night. I'm kind of at a loss for words still.
Yeah, you know how many free throws Nebraska shot?
I don't.
6.
That's it.
For the game. 6. You know how many Indiana shot?
19?
19.
Indiana missed more than Nebraska took.
Exactly. Indiana hit 57.9% at the free throw line last night. And let's see. Remember how last couple games they didn't miss a free throw. But in both of those games, only 2 people shot free throws. And if you remember, I kept saying, this has got a little bit of smoke and mirrors here. Because nobody else is getting to the rim, getting to the line. Well, last night, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys got to the line.
Granted, Romeo took 11 of the 19, but
he took 11, and he hit 8 of those. Good job at the line for Romeo.
How does a guy like Juwan Morgan only get to the line one time? That's what I want to know.
Been asking that for a couple days now. The guy that plays in the paint, I don't know. How's no one else getting to the line normally? I mean, last night they did, but Justin Smith, 1 of 2. Juwan Morgan, 0 for 1.
Clifton Moore took the second most free throws on the team.
1 of 3. Fennessy, 1 of 2. And how about Clifton Moore?
Why was he not in the game more in the second half? He was such a spark in that first half.
I think that may have been the highlight. Had he been in more, the first half would have been the highlight.
Perhaps.
But Jerome Hunter redshirting is, it's not a blow to Indiana because they'd already lost him. That was the blow. Losing him has drastically affected this season. I promise you, he would be starting. He would be he'd be a nice wing out there.
Yeah.
There's a video online if you can find it. Shows Jerome shooting. Here, I mean that's fresh, I believe.
Yeah.
He hit a 3 from, forget about the NBA 3-point line. The distance between the college and the 3-point line, take that distance, add it to the backside of the NBA line. And that's, I think, where he shot that from.
Let's just say the 3 he hits in that video makes Rob Fennessy's 3 at Butler look weak.
Oh, yeah, that was an effort. This was just a shot, jump shot. I was like, holy cow. He's like 10 feet behind the three-point line.
At least, yeah.
But losing him, that hurt. He was the second biggest recruit behind Romeo. And it's a huge loss. It just is. Not having Race Thompson. Last night they didn't have Al Durham in the second half. Don't know what his situation is going to be. He got kicked in the leg or something, Archie said. Deron Davis played 3 minutes and 10 seconds. He committed a foul. That's his stat line. Zach McRoberts.
Davis didn't actually have a foul, so he put up the old $3 trillion. 3 minutes and a bunch of zeros.
He committed a foul. He had a personal foul, didn't he?
I'm not showing that.
I am. On my sheet.
Your sheet's the one that matters.
Evan Fitzner. 4 minutes and 20 seconds. That's all they can get out of him. Well, they could have, but you know why that's all they got out of him? Because he was 0 for 3.
Well, that 1 3 he took was, 6 feet behind the line? It's deep. Not an Evan Fitzner shot.
What's an Evan Fitzner shot?
Well, that's true. What is an Evan Fitzner shot?
So basically, you got Romeo and Juwan and some guys.
Which we've known for a while.
Yeah, but you're hoping that things come around and improvement and people start sliding into slots. Now, injuries have played a monster role in this season kind of derailing. But it's not the only thing. The play on the court last night, not good. Defensively, man, getting lost. Not lackadaisical, no spark, no fire. You're at home. You've lost 2 in a row. It's time to get up.
Just didn't look interested.
You got ran out of your own house. You got booed off the floor by your own fans. Not terribly booed, but there were some boo birds. There were definitely some boo birds.
I mean, and rightfully so. It's been quite some time since I've seen an Indiana team that looked that disinterested playing a game.
There was no transition. The shooting was terrible. Missed defensive assignments. The effort was terrible. But the thing is, the one thing that I have seen that if they want tough players in Indiana, they're going to have to recruit them tough. I don't think they're going to get tough under Archie. I don't mean that as a negative. I'm just saying he doesn't seem to toughen players up. Maybe that's the time we're living in. I just can't accept that. But Indiana's soft. They are soft. S-O-F-T. Soft.
How do you fix that?
You can't give someone fire. You can't give them just a competitive drive, a will to win. You got that. You got to have it. Now, I guess some people can bring it out in others. But something needs to happen because it's, you kind of saw it coming with all these games that they were Northwestern at home, they're winning by 2. Penn State, they're barely winning. Then you're like, well, what's going to happen when they go to Wisconsin or they go to Michigan or they go to Michigan State or Michigan State comes here or Nebraska comes here? It's, you watch other teams and you see, again, I hearken back to the Arkansas game. That game was just a capsule of what I've seen so far and the fact that Arkansas wanted that game. Arkansas played to win. Arkansas played aggressive. Arkansas played with a fire in their belly. And Indiana's fire seems, last night it was extinguished. It was not pleasurable to watch.
Archie was actually asked after the game if there were warning signs that he could see this type of game coming. Let's see what he had to say.
It happens. Mental fatigue as much as physical fatigue for certain guys. When that stuff creeps in, at the end of the day, you got to find a way to recreate your energy level and your environment that you're in every day. It can't become monotonous. And why guys aren't excited, to get ready to go tonight, as much as we had at stake just in terms of being able to get up back off the mat at home, I don't know. As a coach, you got to be able to push the right buttons, and clearly, we're not pushing the right buttons right now.
No, you're not. He's not pushing the right buttons right now. There's a lot of frustration amongst the fans. I think a lot of people look at Chris Holtmann at Ohio State and the success he had this first season. I think they're looking at Chris Mack in Louisville and seeing the success he's having in his first season. And they're looking at Bloomington in the second season and saying, what the hell's going on?
Well, you could make that same argument for Ohio State, though. Holtmann's taken a step back, too.
Yeah, well, they don't have the player of the year this year that they had last year.
Sure.
Caleb HD up. But they've lost 3 straight, man. And now you're on the road to West Lafayette to play at Purdue.
4 of the next 5 are on the road. And your one home game is Michigan. So, yeah, doesn't get any easier.
Oh, my gosh. Does it sound like there's an echo, or is that me?
That's you.
And here it sounds like this microphone echoes.
Not picking that up.
Well, not echoes, but it sounds like it's down in a canyon. It's not full and rich.
Got a little reverberation going on.
Something. But, yeah, 4 out of the 5 on the road, and your only home games against Michigan. Do you think Purdue is just not salivating right now?
Absolutely.
Carson Edwards, and they're going, oh, my God, we're going to kill these guys. They've got no confidence. They're afraid to lose right now. They're going to come in here and Purdue. Oh, do you know what kind of welcome they're going to get at Purdue?
It won't be a welcome.
Man, oh, man.
And with Purdue's size, they're huge down low. Whether those guys can ball or not, the way Indiana's been rebounding or not rebounding lately, that's going to be an issue once again on Saturday.
Out-rebounded again last night.
Yeah. They have got to start getting more aggressive and have a want-to when it comes to rebounding. It's getting ridiculous.
Rebounded on both ends of the court.
Yeah.
They gave up 11 offensive rebounds in this game. That's basically 30 offensive rebounds in the last 2 games.
Not good.
No. And I don't get it because it's not talent. You're not going to tell me that there was more talent on that Nebraska team than the Indiana team. They didn't have a Romeo Langford, and they didn't have a Juwan Morgan. But they had what they needed. They got all they needed.
Tim texted into the show, asked, do you think IU playing this way hurts us with getting Brooks?
No. Again, because I think Archie's pitch is, that's why we need you.
Yeah.
We need you out here. And it is the truth. Archie does not have all his players. These are he's still dealing with a lot of Crean's players. Devontae Green, Clifton Moore,
Al Durham, Juwan.
Well, but that's not a problem to deal with. But McRoberts, all these guys, they're okay.
McRoberts had a play last night where he's on the 3-point line. Somebody passes it to him. And
wide open.
Did the crowd cheer at that point for him to shoot?
No, I think they were just...
Okay, because the broadcaster brought it up. Whoever was broadcasting the game, he was like, and the crowd's begging for McRoberts to shoot. And I stand up off my couch. I'm like, I promise, sir, the crowd is not begging for McRoberts to shoot. I don't know if you know this team, but they're not asking for that.
You can tell when Fox does a game, they don't know the hell what they're talking about.
It was just funny. I was like, oh, my gosh.
Oh,
Nobody in that stadium would ever beg for McRoberts to shoot.
No, but he was wide open.
Yeah, he was.
He can shoot.
He can, sure.
Hell, how could he have done any worse? They were 2 of 14. They shot 14%.
At that point, might as well shoot.
Let me shoot. Anybody, let you shoot. Everybody gets a shot. You get a shot, you get a shot.
You know I'd make it.
Do Oprah. Go through the crowd. You get a shot, you get a shot. Somebody needs to. How can a team be this bad at shooting from the three-point line? Their 2-point percentage sure took a hit last night, too.
Yeah.
This is not a great night, but a lot of excuses. We got to take a break. We'll be back with plenty more here on Indiana Sports Beat. Chronic Hoosiers on with us. Mike Schumann as well. Stay tuned. We're back right after this.
The happy ones are near. Let's get together before we get.
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for a happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Welcome into Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle with you as always. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Hope your day's off to a great one here on this 15th day of January 2019. Justin Kalen, high atop the Crew Chiefs box.
That's right.
Hope your day is off to a good start. Thanks a lot for bringing us along. We appreciate you. We've got another great program as always. Chronic Hoosier will be on with us today, as is Mike Schumann. A lot to get to. Indiana basketball last night. Not a great outcome there, but let's get to the headlines first with Justin.
All right, here are your headlines for this Tuesday, January 15th, 2019. For the 26th time, Don Fisher has won the Indiana Sportscaster of the Year. Terry Hutchins wins Sports Writer of the Year. New AP poll has the same top five with Duke, Michigan, Tennessee, Virginia, and Gonzaga. Indiana drops down to number 25. Indiana women's basketball also stays in the top 25 at number 25. An Indiana soccer player, Frankie Moore, drafted in the third round of the MLS Super Draft yesterday. And Indiana basketball drops to Nebraska 66-51 inside Assembly Hall last night. Those are your headlines for this January 15th, 2019.
And welcome back. Yeah, not a great time for Indiana last night at home in the Assembly Hall as Nebraska came calling. And they left a mark. 66-51, the end result. Indiana, not good. Not a great night for the Hoosiers as they were just totally dismantled, outmanned, outplayed, outcoached, outshot, outperformed, outhustled.
Any way you could say it.
They were outed. 3 losses in a row now for Indiana, and that's not good. Now, we know that the Big Ten is going to be a gauntlet. It was going to be tough, but you can't lose games like this at home. I'm sorry. You have to do whatever it takes to get a win. You can't get this win back. They don't play Nebraska again, which, not that would have been much help. But you got to win the home games, man, because the road games are going to get very rough. And speaking of road games, Indiana's got 4 out of their next 5 on the road. And as Justin pointed out, the only home game in that stretch is against Michigan. And it starts Saturday in West Lafayette against Purdue.
Better figure it out in a hurry.
This season could go off the rails in a hurry.
Yeah. Now, granted, 2 of the road games in that stretch are at Northwestern and at Rutgers. Shouldn't be an issue, but
really?
Indiana
Why?
only beat Northwestern by 2.
Exactly.
So,
at home.
At home, yeah.
And Rutgers just did what? They gave hell to somebody they played. Almost beat somebody recently.
They beat Ohio State.
There you go. There you go. Maryland at home last night to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, man, Maryland had a 21-point lead. Wisconsin fights back. They don't win the game, unfortunately, but that would have been unbelievable comeback.
Yeah.
But it was an unbelievable comeback. Down 21, come back to fight for that game. Kansas narrowly escapes a win at home against Texas, 80-78. But bigger news, Duke at home gets beat in overtime.
Love it.
By the Cuse. Syracuse.
Duke may be in some trouble. They lost Trey Jones last night.
Yeah, they did. Their point guard went out with a shoulder injury. I have no compassion for anyone else in their injuries, team-wise.
Sure.
No one has suffered in that regard more than Indiana has. And none bigger than Jerome Hunter, who is now redshirting, which pretty much knew that was going to be the case, but it's official now. He announced it yesterday on a pregame radio, and Coach Miller confirmed that last night in the postgame press conference. But Indiana's got problems.
Yeah.
And they've got to fix them. They've got to fix them fast. They've lost 3 straight. 4 out of their next 5 games are on the road, and 1 at home against Michigan. You can't lose 3 out of those 5 games.
Wow, then you're looking at, 5 and 6 in Big Ten?
They've got to get it together. I know they've been beset by injuries, but the guys that are on the floor, when they're on the floor, play. Give the effort needed at this level to compete at this level in the Big Ten right now. That's what they have to do.
Well, even before the injuries, you think back 2-3 weeks ago, even with the injuries, we were still pretty confident about what this Indiana team could do. And then,
well, they were playing okay.
Right. Now, all of a sudden,
they're getting, well, they never dominated anybody.
No.
They didn't dominate.
With the exception of Marquette.
I don't know if they dominated them or just got lucky in that game because what do you think would happen if they played again right now?
Shoo. I don't care what floor it's on.
Especially if it was anywhere except for Assembly Hall.
Yeah. I think even in Assembly Hall.
They've got some issues. They've got to get them straightened out. They're going to have to learn to play with what they got.
Yeah.
The injuries, yes. They've been beset by injuries, no doubt. But you know what? You got to go on. But gee whiz. Evan Fitzger's not injured. McRoberts is not injured. Clifton Moore's not injured. Devontae Green's not injured. But out of those guys I just named, you know how many shots they got? Al Durham even. You know how many shot? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, 7 players hit 4 shots combined. Those 7 players hit a total of 4 shots combined. That's what Indiana got out of those 7 players.
Now, granted, Al Durham didn't play the whole second half, but
right. It's got to get fixed in a hurry. I'm starting to wonder about the approach that they take. Because I remember seeing some of this last year. Different team, but I'm like, when you see repetitive mistakes being made, the same type of mistakes, like the defensive lapses, their defense has been pretty good this year for the most part.
Yeah.
But the perimeter defense last night was horrific. And when you get beat by a better team, that's acceptable. That's not what happened last night. They got outplayed. They got out everything. They got outworked. Nebraska wanted to win the game. Indiana looked like they wanted to not be there.
And that's how it's looked last 3-4 games.
Well, that's pretty much how it was last night, unfortunately. Hey, hit us up on the text line, comments, questions, 812-269-6367. You know, you can like or follow us on Facebook. You can always find the show, rebroadcast if you can't listen live on WXVW, 1450, 96.1. You can also find us on iTunes, Apple Play, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or at indianasportsbeat.com. You can listen live at any time, no matter where you are.
Tim texts in and asks, is it me or do we always play bad against players wearing headbands? This guy has a great game, even steals the ball from Romeo laying on the floor.
That is the ultimate not paying attention, not being aware of your surroundings. not being zoned in, locked in, mind of it's a different, I don't know what the mindset is. I just don't know. I mean, how do you not come out ready to play? Which is one of the things we heard in the postgame. I'm like, I remember last year there was I can't remember what game it was, but it was just after having had several of those games, they come in one night and it's like, so what happened? Well, we just didn't come out ready to play. Really? How the hell does that happen? Did you not know you had a game tonight? Is this not the 17th, 18th game of the season? Have you not been practicing for 3 months? How are you not ready to play tonight? I don't understand that.
Yeah, no.
I don't remember not ever being ready to do whatever it was I was doing in athletics. I don't. Now, I did not play at the basketball at the Division I level, but I don't think that matters.
See, I had that mindset, but that's because I ran cross country and it was god awful. But yeah, when it comes to basketball, I can't fathom that mindset. How you're not ready.
I just can't. I don't. If you're getting ready to compete, I don't understand how you are not ready to compete. Yeah. If you're a competitor, you want the competition. You relish it. This team does not seem to relish competition.
Tom texts in and says, not hard to game plan 5-on-2.
Not at all. And it worked. 17 and 18. That's what they got. Romeo and Juwan. Romeo had the 18. Everybody else? Your third option last night? Clifton Moore. Thank you very much. 5 points. As did Justin Smith. But the fact that Clifton Moore was the third highest score, that tells you a lot.
Yikes.
Tells you a lot. Hey, we've got Chronic Hoosier coming up next. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat. Back right after this.
If that chick don't want to know, forget her. The boys are back in town.
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat. Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, and you know what that means. Chronic Hoosiers along for the ride. Sir, how are you today?
Oh, I've had better mornings, I'd say.
I bet. That game last night will leave you with the red ass.
I'll tell you what, I've seen a lot of basketball in Assembly Hall over the years, and I cannot for the life of me remember the last time I saw a team as capable as this one is. And I think it's important that we got to contextualize a couple of things here. This is a team that's got a lottery pick on it. This is a team that's got at least one first 10, if not 2 first 10 All Big Ten players. I wouldn't be surprised to see Juwan perhaps slip to second team. Nevertheless, though, you got some high-level talent on this team. Some really high-level talent on this team that's got a lot to play for in front of it. And to see a performance so listless, so limp, so lifeless, just so pathetic out of the gates, understanding as well where this team is in its schedule, having just dropped 2 games to open up the meat of the Big Ten schedule, if you will, dropping a winnable game at Maryland, to come home and put on a performance like they did right off the tip is just, it's unacceptable in so many different ways. You can't defend it. You can't excuse it away. This has obviously been a problem we've seen for some time with the starts, and we kind of saw the script flipped at Maryland where they came out like gangbusters and just fizzled late. But to so quickly revert back to their just inexcusable ways early on and basically put themselves out of contention in this game before they ever gave it a chance to get started. I don't know what's going on, but there is something that is not right with this team right now. And there's still a lot of basketball left to be played, but we're also getting to the point where now, at the midpoint, the Ides of January, these boys are going to have to figure it out. I know a lot of people are wringing their hands, and I heard a lot of comments about Archie last night. Putting all that aside for the time being, this has got to start with the players before anything's going to change. They're going to have to figure out what it is that's causing them to start off so poorly. They're going to have to figure out a way to correct it, and they're going to have to do it right quick. You got 4 of the next 5 on the road with stops at Mackey, Welsh Ryan. You get to go to Breslin. You get to go to Chrysler. This could get ugly in a hurry for Indiana if these boys don't decide to find some pride from within whenever they put that jersey on and start playing like it.
Yeah, it's we were kind of talking about that a minute ago. I don't get it. One thing I don't get is in the post-game press conference, and it reminded me of a point last year where they had been playing really, really bad, and they come out and they play worse. And the response was, well, we didn't come out ready to play. And that was one of the things I heard last night. And
at one of these, I would love at one point to be able to stop and go, well, stop, and stand up and go, how in the hell can you not be ready to play? This is what, the 17th game of the year. You guys have been practicing for months. You've lost 2 in a row. You're at home. You got to get something by. How can you not be ready to play? How is that an acceptable excuse by anybody?
Well, it's not, and that's the thing, is there is no excuse for that type of performance. And, you know, I'm not a huge fan of those 6:30 tip-offs. It's always a very late arriving crowd, but I think that also ignores the fact that there was a hell of a crowd that ultimately showed up last night. You know, there were people still filling into my row at the last media time out of the first half. The student section was pretty much packed all the way to the top of the main level. With a sizable portion of the balcony. It wasn't for lack of energy in the hall.
No, I was shocked because right at the start of the game, I'm looking around from my media seat. I'm like, are the students back in school yet? And somebody said, yeah. I'm like, all right. But yeah, it filled right in. So it wasn't from a crowd standpoint. But, boy, you watched it on the court, and you're like, hey, did somebody not tell the team to show up tonight? Because I don't see them out there.
Well, I think that's one of the big problems is there ain't a whole lot of a team that's showing up on any given night right now. You know, when you look at the way in which things were spread around last night, guards that were not named Romeo went combined to go 2 for 10 from the floor, 1 for 5 from the charity stripe, 6 points, 4 assists, and 4 turnovers in 82 minutes. Big men not named Jawan went 4 for 12 from the floor, 2 for 5 from the line, combined for 10 points, 6 boards, 4 turnovers in 49 minutes. There's just nothing out there that is giving any reliable, consistent contribution beyond Juwan and Romeo, and it's making this team just too easy to guard, to defend, and to scheme against when you're only realistically having to look at 2, competent or at least realistic threats on the offensive end. And, you know, more than anything, though, and Arch has said it, and it's pretty clear this is a defensive team, at least as far as how it's going to compete, what its identity is going to be based off of, and we're just not seeing enough of that early on. And that was the thing I think that was probably most frustrating, is after they jumped out to an early lead, I think they went up 7-0 just in the bat of an eye, to see guys jogging back on defense. There are certain things that I can understand. You know, I understand the limitations that a lot of these guys have. I understand the talent level as a whole that Archie had inherited and where this roster is comprised of. I understand the injuries they've been faced with. There's a lot of adversity. There's a lot of things that are less than ideal right now. But what is never going to be negotiable for me, whether it be home or on the road, is effort. And to see them come out and put forth such a poor effort, I can't remember exactly where it was, somewhere still in the first 10 minutes. At one point, my 9-year-old son looked over at me and asked what's the biggest loss IU's ever had, if I thought we were heading that way. And to have that die cast that early in the game and to have it that apparent to an untrained 9-year-old eye, it just made me sick to my stomach. And it's a feeling that to this point today I still have not been able to shake. And again, there's a lot of things that you can at least explain away, but there will never be an excuse for the type of effort that this team put forth defensively to start the game, because for all their shortcomings on the offensive end of the floor, their willingness to engage on the defensive end to really go out there and compete, that cannot be negotiable. The way this team is constructed. There was a point where I just assumed seeing them put all the walk-ons on and find some boys that are willing to run up and down the floor and dig in and get low on defense, because we didn't see a lot of that early. And not surprisingly, they found themselves once again at that first quarter mark, 10 minutes into it, they were in a 16-point hole. And they got close early in the second half, but, I mean, realistically, they never threatened from that point forward. And I don't understand how that happens in this. I don't understand how it happens anywhere when you play for Indiana University. I will, for the life of me, never understand how the hell that happens at Assembly Hall. It's just, it's not acceptable.
No, and not at all. And then Travis from Charlestown texted and asking, why does not Rob Phinisee shoot more? I know he's a point guard, and his job is not to score, but his job is to not score either. He only took 3 shots last night. I know he's working back from that injury, but he I think he needs to score a little bit more, and maybe it's just him working back from that injury. But they've got to have, because last night the third option was Clifton Moore. God bless his soul.
No, and honestly, I had a very long conversation on the way home as we were sitting in traffic, trying to figure out
in your helicopter.
With
I thought you took your helicopter.
That blew my mind too, man. I thought that we were on Dunn heading towards the bypass, and this helicopter was coming in low. It was hard to tell where he was going. He ended up in that church parking lot there in the corner. But there's some baller in the hall last night. When you're getting airlifted in and out of the hall, my favorite comment, that was Indiana's offense being evac'd out of the state. Perhaps so. I'm not exactly sure. But no, I was trying to understand what was up with Clifton's minutes. Because honestly, I thought for a second there we were going to be witness to the Clifton Moore coming out party. I thought he gave some extremely capable minutes in a short time. I'd given him the start in the second half, the way that he finished that first. For whatever reason, Archie didn't see it, but there wasn't a whole lot of contribution from other bigs beyond Juwan. Justin Smith kind of spun his wheels for a decent amount. It appears that Deron Davis is still playing through some pain. He's not moving nearly as well as we saw him, just a month ago. Evan Fitzner continues to be just a non-contributor in every way, shape, or form right now. It's problematic, and for a team that when we're kind of appraising the situation early on, coming out of hysteria, coming out of the exhibition games, this was a team that looked to have a lot of depth, a lot of length, and a lot of speed, and we're not seeing a whole lot of any of that right now. Quite the contrary. They look very undersized as we're getting into some of these Big Ten matchups. They don't seem to have very much speed at all, at least none that they're being able to leverage to their advantage. And the depth is virtually non-existent across the board once you get outside that starting five. Even down the starting five, for that matter, as far as contributors, they're not getting nearly enough from the guys who have to be contributing to this team right now. Because, again, if they're just, if they're two-faceted, if it's just going to be the Juwan and Romeo show, even teams like Rutgers, even teams that on paper shouldn't be able to really match up, it ain't hard to play 5 against 2, man. It's just not. It's time for some guys to step up and figure out exactly what this is going to be. And I think offensively, I understand that there's a lot of issues that are playing into Archie's rotation right now. Not the least of which, though, is it's got to show some composition in the way that the ball is moving. When you look at the 3-point percentages, under 15% it's just almost incomprehensible how a team can be that bad. But then when you really break it down and you look at where those shots are coming from, those aren't really drawn up within the offense a lot of times. They seem to be coming as a last-ditch effort because they can't get what they want, just to kick it back outside, pass it around, maybe do a weave, and then somebody's going to take a shot that's not really in the flow of the offense. So it's not unsurprising that those aren't particularly effective because that ain't what they're trying to do right now.
No, I don't know that they even have a lot of offense per se other than Romeo trying to get to the rack, and if that doesn't work, is anybody open? That's one of the things I've been wondering about. They don't seem to be organized in that regard. Maybe I'm off a little bit on that. But Romeo does what he does very effectively, don't get me wrong. But the rest of the team doesn't. I don't know that they're getting into an offensive flow because Romeo is so good at what he does, but that does not really work with the other parts of the team as far as them scoring.
No, and, as you're watching the offense, right now we're seeing a lot of just wasted motion for the sake of being in motion. I would love to have an intern who could track the effectiveness of our screening. How many times you guys see they do their pass off at the top of the key, the high elbows, and how many guys they go out there and they set, how often they fail to even draw contact, they don't create separation. It's like they're just literally going through the motion in the literal and figurative sense. It's mind-boggling to me how ineffective it is, and yet they continue just to run these cycles where nothing's really happening. And I understand that oftentimes you may have to take 6, 7, 8 steps to get the ball where you want it to go, but there's just not a lot of purpose to it right now. It's listless, is probably the best way to describe it. And so that's going to have to change here real soon because, like I said, with the stretch they have coming up, this season could be in the tank really, really quickly if they don't figure some stuff out.
Four out of the next 5 on the road, and that starts with Saturday at Purdue, and the home game is against Michigan.
Yep.
That's the stretch that they have to look at. All right, here's a question. 2 years in a row, we see guys not really elevating their game. Most of the guys, you got Romeo and Juwan, of course, but everyone else not really developing. 2 years in a row, see this team start making a lot of the same mistakes they made before. There was last night's defensive lapses were as bad as they've had this season, but questions about Archie have to start coming in a little bit. This team playing like this, I remember this happening again last year. You got to ask the question: is Archie doing what he needs to be doing as a coach?
It remains to be seen. And there was a tweet from a columnist up in Indianapolis last night that certainly got a lot of people's hairs up.
Well, he's not liked by too many people, I don't think, anyway.
I understand, and it is a pretty barbed and pointed comment. Bob Kravitz, as we were talking about, discussing Archie's endless honeymoon, I believe was his phrasing there. And I don't know that was necessarily on point. I thought he missed the mark a little bit there. Obviously we're a season and a half into the Archie Miller era at Indiana. One thing that I think is important to remember, again, being real objective here, realistically speaking, Archie, well, he certainly didn't inherit anything remotely close to the roster that Tom Crean did. Tom Crean was just trying to find warm bodies to come fill up those jerseys to start. Archie was not in that position. That being said as well, Archie certainly wasn't given the benefit of a fairly well-comprised roster. He had a lot of hodgepodge pieces that were designed for a different system. I don't have a problem at this point continuing to give him a pass. In as much as we continue to see development, in as much as we continue to see a continuation of some effort to define an identity. And thus far, at least up until the last 2 weeks or so, we'd seen a pretty clear emphasis on this team being a defensive first team, and I'm okay with that. That being said, though, there has been a pretty significant regression in the last couple of weeks. This is a tough spot right now because, again, I think it's fair to say that Archie's not going to get nearly as much leash as Tom did as far as people's patience. I do think it's unfair to really judge him too critically at this point without giving him a chance to better comprise a roster of his own liking, of his own making. This is a team that's going to need some pretty strong guards, period, not just this one specifically, but I think in order to play for Archie Miller, that team's going to have to be a guard-led team. That's just the way he is. That's how he played. That's how he was coached. That's how he wants to coach. I do think there's some promise there. I also think there's some liabilities. I love Al Durham. I think the kid he's just a heck of a kid. I think he gives pretty solid effort night in, night out. At the end of the day, too, though, we're just not seeing that much production-wise from him. Devontae Green continues to be the modern incarnation of Troy Williams. I think I described it against the Maryland game. The boy's chasing the dragon. He is constantly out there.
1 for 6 last night.
It's tough. It's going to be tough for a team to function when with pieces that are as problematic as those two can be, and as far as their limitations, their liabilities, what they bring to the table. I do think Rob Tennessee is going to work out to be a really strong guard for the Hoosiers, but I also understand you got a lot of guys who are playing probably ahead of what their cycle should have been naturally in a normal roster rotation.
And don't let it be forgotten that the losing Jerome Hunter, that's a blow to this team because he would have been contributing. He's a great player.
I think it is important to take a look at the overall injury situation. I mean, Jerome Hunter, probably the best freshman on this team outside of Romeo Langford, would have provided extremely important depth in the post. But you know what? Deron Davis as well his re-aggravation, or his injuries, it's not a re-aggravation, it's a new injury, whatever's holding him down. I mean, Zach McRoberts looks like a walking corpse out there right now. By all accounts, that kid would not be playing any other year before his last, understanding how shackled this team is due to injury. You know, God bless him, he's out there getting 3 steals. The guy can hardly stand up straight. I mean, I don't know if you pay attention when he comes off the bench. He's like me after working 65 hours in a week on Friday night. I get out of that recliner after a couple of whiskeys, and, I can barely stand up myself. That's Zach McRoberts coming off the bench fresh right now.
Well, Al Durham goes out last night. He missed the entire second half because of an injury.
Yeah. This is, Bill Murphy commented on it last night, one of the foremost IU historians. This is perhaps the most injury-plagued team in Indiana history. And, again, I'm not making excuses. It just is what it is. You look at the way in which guard injuries early in the season really kept these guys from getting together, all 4 of them, and then figuring out, what their roles are going to be and who's going to fill what in what situations. Again, and not making excuses, it just is what it is. And right now it has produced some frustrating basketball at this point in the season. But like I said, man, there's still a lot of ball to be played. I mean, on the post-game radio last night, Fish and Eric Sewell were discussing the lack of confidence in this game, the loss of confidence from a loss like this at home. I don't disagree with that one bit, but at the end of the day, too, there's a tremendous opportunity to go up to West Lafayette and get every bit of that back. Now, I think that could be a bellwether game for what's to come here, at least as the month finishes out. How does this team respond in the most hostile environment it's going to face against one of Indiana's rivals when you got a lot of youth that's never experienced this before? How do they respond in the face of this type of adversity? Because it's just stacking up on them now, and that can be crippling for a young team. Big chance. Big chance. There's also a lot of risk in it because you go up there and get run out the gym by your rival, and like I said, man, it can get ugly real quick here for the Hoosiers.
Absolutely. Chronic Hoosier, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you, brother.
Always. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. Have a great day. Chronic Hoosier, brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry. Serving the Hoosier family needs for over 30 years. Let Doctors J and Roger Reynolds take care of your family's needs. Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. We're back with Mike Schumann right after this on Indiana Sports Beat. This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small, your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural. You must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this 15th day of January. Hope your day's off to a great start. Got Mike Schumann with the Daily Hoosier joining us now. Michael, how are you?
Doing good, Jim. How are you?
Well, you called it last night. I said it earlier in the broadcast. We were talking before the game, watching Nebraska warm up, and Mike looks at me and says, Indiana's going to lose this game with complete seriousness. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. And he nailed it. And I was thinking that as I was sitting up there watching that game unfold, and I'm like, 10, 11, 13, that's the deficit. Just continue to click like our national deficit, that number board that you see in New York. It was just piling up, and I'm like, God, is it going to stop? And then they teased us. They made a great run. Devontae Green hits the only shot he hit all night, a big three that got him within 3. You think, here they come, and then boom, here comes Nebraska knocking down a couple more threes and another shot. Boom, they just jump right back up without batting an eye. They looked like they were playing so confident. Nebraska, I'm talking about, looked like they were playing at home. They never looked worried. They never looked distressed. They never looked out of sorts. They didn't look lost. All those things, that was Indiana playing at home. Just a shocking performance, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I had that sense going into the game, is just the type of team that Nebraska is. I know a good chunk of the IU fan base sees Nebraska on the jersey and they think easy win, but if you didn't know it, you know it now. I mean, I think their starting lineups is one of the better in the league. They don't have a real deep bench, but more important than the talent is just the way that they play. They always kind of muck up the game. They always kind of play, with a toughness, a mindset about them. And on top of that, that's kind of the opposite of what I'm seeing from Indiana right now. Just the way Indiana reacted on Monday night or Friday night, to Maryland, after they had the lead and, Maryland started coming back and it just imploded, that really concerned me because I just saw a team that, even when they were doing well, didn't have mental toughness to sustain it and really take a team and knock them out the way teams have done that to Indiana. And so the combination of those factors going into the game last night really had me concerned. And having, that I don't feel good about being right about that at all. I mean, to me, that optically speaking, that's the worst loss of the year for Indiana. And on top of that, it's the first time this year I've truly been concerned about this team, in terms of the prospects for the season and even going out further. I mean, it's just there's something missing from just an intangible perspective about this team, and I think what I keep going back to in my mind is just that there's no leaders, there's no floor leaders, there's nobody that plays with an edge to them and really demands that edge out of their teammates right now. And, coaches can only do so much. And I think part of it is on the coaches. We can't look past it, but, you got to have the right composition of players too.
Yeah, I earlier I was talking and I hearkened back to the Arkansas game because that game still stands out to me. I remember watching that game and how aggressive, how much fight Arkansas had, how much determination they had. They wanted to win that game.
And that's the kind of fight you want to see. Didn't see that last night. Didn't see anything close to that. And I don't understand we get off to slow starts. It's kind of how we are. No, that's not acceptable, first of all. It's not how you are. It's what you're doing. But where does Archie go? I mean, there are questions that have to be answered, and he has to answer those questions. It's his job to get this team to be ready to play, which is what we heard last night in the post-game press conference, which shocks me to no end, and I cannot grasp not being ready to play. Unless there's been exigent circumstances, something going on, I get that. That has not been the case. They had practice. They had a game, and then they have another game. You got practice in between. How are you not ready to play? You're at home, and you've lost 2 in a row. You need a win. You're at home, the best place for you to be, and yet you say, we just weren't ready to play? Really?
Yeah, the thing I kept going back to in my head last night was, is this the flu game? The game where the whole team's been stricken with the flu and nobody knows it, but that's the way they looked. I mean, it was that bad from an energy level, but you're exactly right. I mean, Arkansas is a great example, and there's so many others of teams that aren't even really that good of teams, but when they get a big game on their home floor, man, they're tough to beat no matter who's coming in. And we've seen Indiana teams like that before, but these guys just don't have it. I mean, another example is Rutgers. I mean, we all like to joke about Rutgers being the laughing stock of the Big Ten, but you know what? Ohio State came into their place a few weeks ago, and they took them out. And Indiana doesn't have the look of a team that can do that with anybody right now, except maybe, rallying to beat a UC Davis.
And I get the injuries. There's no doubt. I mean, we've talked about those ad nauseum, and they're legit. The amount of injuries, staggering. And Al Durham goes out last night. Did not play the entire second half because of an injury. Deron Davis, man, he might as well not have played. He's injured. He's still hurt. He is not playing well. Zach McRoberts, I don't know if his injury is playing a part into him. He never really did a lot offensively anyway. It was his contributions were on the other side of the ball, but we're not even seeing a lot of that. Jerome Hunter, obviously redshirting because of injury. Race Thompson out because of injury. There's no doubt that definitely has played a huge impact on this team. Losing Hunter is huge. I think he would have been a great contributor. I think he would have been that third option that we've all been asking about all year long, but he's gone for the year. So they're good, but they have to make do with what they have. And you talked about Nebraska using a shorter lineup. They only played 7 players last night, basically 8, but basically 7 because the other guy only played 1 minute. But out of those 7 players, 4 of them were in double figures. 1 of them had 9 points. They're getting contributions across the board from the guys that they have in there. It's not the big 2. And where Romeo and Juwan and everyone else is putting up goose eggs. They're getting support across the board, and that's what you're going to have as a team. Indiana, Romeo and Juwan cannot compete in the Big Ten by themselves.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, Nebraska uses one of the shorter benches in the country in regards to the amount of production that they get and the amount of minutes that the bench plays as a percentage of the total. And Archie Miller in his passes used really short benches and had successful teams doing it. So it's something that he can do, but you're right. It's got to be more than Juwan and Romeo. I mean, Nebraska, you're not going to see too many 1-3-1 zones like Indiana saw last night. At least teams play it that know how to do it effectively like Nebraska did. But at the same time, there has to be more options. And if you think about who those guys are, I mean, right now Devontae Green is just not anywhere near consistent enough to be that guy. And Justin Smith, I think his offensive game right now is just too limited in terms of what he's able to bring to the table. And Zach McRoberts right now doesn't even look for a shot. I noticed last night in that game towards the end, he was actually getting subbed out offense and defense, which tells you a lot that, Archie late in games doesn't even want to have him on the floor because he doesn't even present a scoring threat. So that there's just, especially on the offensive end, as 51 points would suggest, there's just not a lot of productivity outside of, as you said, the big 2.
And unfortunately, how's that going to change? Because the personnel's not going to change. Now, one question I do have, when they're shooting as badly as they were last night, why is Demezy Anderson not brought in as just, what the hell you got to lose? Why are we not seeing Anderson?
Yeah, I was surprised last night that he didn't get in the game after Durham went down. That didn't make a lot of sense to me, just in terms of even just giving other guys a rest. That's what's happened historically when someone out on the perimeter has gone down. So I don't know what's going on there. There might be a bigger story. Cause
there's got to be, right. Because why would you continue to run in people like Fitzner and McRoberts who give you zip offensively?
Yep.
Where I'm not saying Demezy's going to give you 15 points, but maybe you got a shot at least because he can hit from outside. He can shoot the ball. Obviously, you're not getting anything from Fitzner and McRoberts. It's borne out. You could just look, okay, this game, nothing. This game, nothing. It's there. That's the case. So, yeah, there's got to be more to it. Something's going on why we're not seeing him. But because they need anything they can get right now, they're not getting production, and it gets a lot rougher. We talked about it on the postgame report last night. Their next game is in West Lafayette, but it's not just that. 4 of their next 5 games on the road. The only home game is against Michigan. They've got a litany of tough games coming up. 2 of them are the easier ones. They're at Rutgers, and where's the other one? At Northwestern. But Northwestern's a team that took them down to the wire at home here. So no easy games, period. And it just does not get any easier for them coming up. The season could go off the rails if they're not careful.
Yeah, I mean, Purdue, Northwestern, Rutgers, all teams that Indiana, from a talent perspective, is at least on par with, if not better. But they're also all teams that, when you go to their place and play, they're gonna give you a fight. And you know, until Indiana learns to play with a nastiness about them, I don't think that they're going to win too many games in this league right now.
That's the one thing that about this team and either year. They haven't had there's no one that has a nasty streak to them. And I'm not saying you want your team to be like that, but you've got to have a team that's willing to fight. And I don't mean fist fight. I mean fight for the win, to fight through things, to have the pride and the inner drive. And I'm not seeing that from many guys out there.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time you saw anybody on this Indiana team, you know, go up to one of their teammates and grab them by the jersey and yell at them and tell them what they're doing wrong? Or, I heard a quote on your show last week with Colin Hartman talking about, Yogi Ferrell being a guy that would demand things out of his teammates and make sure everybody was accountable. And, you just don't see anybody doing that. I go back to the Big Ten Media Day, where both of the co-captains of this team said that they were leaders by example, and that concerned me at the time. And I think it's playing out now. You just don't see anybody on the floor really being a guy that brings a high level of energy, not to their game, but to the intangibles of the game. And I think you need that. You see that on other teams where guys, look like a guy that you just don't want to have to deal with. It looks like a guy that's trying to rally his teammate, that's trying to engage the crowd. And, it's a concerning element to this team. And I think it's hard to put a finger on, but at the same time, to me at least, it's clearly missing.
Absolutely. I mean, your leader's got to be somebody that's a leader on the floor as well. It can't be someone like Zach McRoberts, unfortunately. Just because he's a senior does not mean that he can be the leader of that team. But, Mike, I appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot. We look forward to doing it again soon.
Thanks, Jim. Have a great one.
You bet. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. Make sure you check out his content, and that's going to pretty much wrap it up for us today. Make sure you join us tomorrow. Todd Jadlow on the show. For Justin Kalen, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.